Good afternoon. Yes, I've used a terrible headline again, which is something like most people who lose weight are not successful. And that's absolutely true, right? That's not clickbaity because I'm like, hey, guess what? I just want you to watch my video. I'm going to explain why that's true. And I'm going to give you some tips so that you are not one of those people. If you are trying to intentionally lose weight at the moment and you're really fucking confused and you can't figure out why you keep losing weight and putting it back on again and losing weight and putting it back on again, I'm going to try and explain to you why that might be happening. And I'm going to give you some tips to stop it happening. It's to do with urgency. Urgency is ruining your life, right? Because you approach a diet thinking, oh my God, I need to get all of this weight off as quickly as possible. So most people just want to get this weight off as quickly as possible, right? And they resort to these really extreme methods. But if you think about it, unless you are a boxer or a weightlifter and you have got to be a certain weight in a very specific time frame for a very specific reason, I would suggest that is a really shit way to approach your dieting. If you think about what you're trying to do, you're trying to achieve a healthy weight that you can maintain for the rest of your life, right? So you're trying to build this new lifestyle for yourself where you are a healthy weight and you do all of the things that a person who is a healthy weight does. You're wanting to build these lifelong habits, but you're choosing methods that are so fucking extreme that you can't bear to sustain them for longer than a few weeks. And that is not because you're shit, right? It's because maybe you are being massively restrictive about foods, about food groups. You are trying to exercise too much. You're trying to change everything at once. The cognitive load of that is just so extreme that on top of having a job or a business or kids or a partner or whatever else, it's just too much. So it just doesn't make sense, right? And I know this is not a message that everyone wants to hear, but if you have got some significant amount of weight to lose, it's going to take you a while. It didn't take you a 12-week program to put that weight on. It's probably very imperceptibly crept up on you for years and years, and you haven't been in the right headspace or the right capacity to do something about it. The only time we do something about it is when the pain of staying the same is so fucking uncomfortable that the pain of changing, which is also really uncomfortable, seems a little bit less, right? Most of the time, we are creatures of habit, of comfort. And even if the habits that we are doing are not particularly helpful and they're causing us to gain weight and lose mobility and energy, we carry on doing them because our brains, yeah, but we know how to do this. It's familiar. So it's less painful to stay where you are. But when, it's really starting to affect the quality of your life, that's when you change. And that's where this urgency comes from. It's holy shit, I feel fucking awful. How can I make myself feel differently as quickly as possible? So I've got some tips for you. So the first one is don't do shit that you don't like, right? You don't have to drink kale smoothies and eat only salads. You don't have to do Barry's fucking boot camp where he shouts at you because you can't do a press up and all that shit. If you don't like shit, don't do it. There is a slight caveat to this, because when you first do something, you probably aren't going to like it, right? If I'm completely honest, some days when I turn up to CrossFit, I'm like, what the fuck? I don't like it while I'm doing it, but because I know that I'm going to enjoy the feeling afterwards, I do it. Until you find your thing, your way of exercising that you like, or your way of eating that you like, you probably are going to try out a few things which are a bit like, they're shit, I don't like them. But maybe you need to persevere a bit, right? And the other caveat to that is type 2 fun. We all love a bit of type 2 fun, don't we? That's what all my ultra walks are, type 2 fun. That's not completely true. They're like type 1.5 fun, right? Because some bits of it are really fun, chatting to everyone and beautiful scenery and stuff. But there are some bits of these walks that are not that enjoyable. Usually 80 odd kilometers in, it starts to get a bit like, is this meant to be fun? But I do it because the sense of achievement afterwards, and it increases my confidence and my self-esteem, and it's good for my mindset and all of that kind of stuff. Yes, don't do shit you don't like, but also don't stay inside your comfort zone, right? That's my first tip. Don't do shit you don't like, but realize that shit which you don't like at the time becomes good afterwards and is really good for building character. So, my second tip is realize that every single day is different and you are going to feel different on any given day, right? So, a lot of the issues with these stupid meal plans, diet plans, and all of that crap is they give you this massive list of rules, right? You just have to follow them every day. It doesn't matter if you don't sleep very well and you wake up and you feel like shit, you're still expected to do this big fucking list of rules. It doesn't take into account that if you haven't slept well, you might be hungrier and therefore you can't eat the same amount of food every day. You're not the same amount of hungry, you're not the same amount of tired, you're not the same amount of stressed. So realize that you are not going to be able to do all of the things that you need to do perfectly every single day. You need to identify your minimum effective dose. I do this a lot with clients. We have things that they want to do every day, but we might have a range. If I want them to try and manage their stress a little better, on a perfect day, they might be able to do 10 minutes of meditation. On a day where they're having a really shitty day, it might just be, I can't even get my head around meditation today. I am just going to make a cup of tea and sit in the garden for 5 minutes. If they are trying to be more active, on days where they feel great, they might do 10,000 steps. On days when they feel shit, they might just do 2,000 steps. It doesn't matter. Just identify what your minimum effective dose is. So that's 3 behaviors that are easy to do, which mean that if you only do these 3 behaviors, you have a good day. Identify your minimum effective dose and understand that not every day is going to be the same. Tip number 3 is cultivate inner and outer wisdom, which all sounds a bit zen, doesn't it? But what I mean by that is take time to educate yourself. Outer knowledge is understanding what's in foods that you eat and understanding what might be good to match up to the goals that you have. Then the inner knowledge is understanding, for example, how do those foods make me feel when I eat them? Do they make me feel tired? Do they make me feel energized? Are they good for my digestive system? Do they affect my sleep if I eat them too late? The outer knowledge is the education around looking after yourself and knowing what works and what doesn't. The inner knowledge is understanding the signals that your body's giving you. How do you know when you're hungry? How do you know when you're tired? How do you know when you're full? How do you know when you're stressed? Which sounds really fucking stupid, right? But a lot of people disassociate from a lot of these feelings and they don't understand what their body needs at any one time. And your body's like, I'm fucking really tired. I want to go to bed. And you're like, never mind, I'm going to watch more Netflix. Or you might be eating something really delicious and your stomach is going, hey, I've had enough food. And you're like, never mind, I'm still going to finish off this piece of cake. We override these signals. So getting back in tune with what your body is saying is really important. So that's cultivating inner and outer knowledge. Number 4 is to prioritize satisfaction. And what I mean by that is, in terms of food, always make sure that you're eating something that you really want. When I first say that, people are like, oh my God, I just want to eat 5 Mars bars, so I just do that every day. You actually wouldn't. If you combined this with the inner knowledge of listening to your body, what it needs, if you prioritize satisfaction, you will learn the things that feel satisfying to your body. So one of the prime examples I use of this is something that I have done myself. So I have been in a position where I wanted a bar of chocolate and I'm trying to keep an eye on my calories. I know I'll have one of those fucking skinny whips. So they're those chocolate bars which are like 89 calories or something, and they do them in all different flavors. So I'm like, hey, do you know what? I'm just going to have a skinny whip. They have got the thinnest layer of chocolate on the outside. So I'm like, that'll be fine. I probably just want a taste of chocolate. So I had a skinny whip. Come back to my desk, sit down. I'm like, still want some chocolate. I'll have another skinny whip. So I'll eat another skinny whip. Anyway, cut a long story short, I ate 5 skinny whips. And that's 500 calories worth of chocolate, right? If I just had a fucking dairy milk, which is what I wanted, which was only 200 calories, I would have felt much more satisfied. I would have eaten the chocolate. I wouldn't have eaten 5 fucking skinny whips because I ate one and thought that's not exactly what I wanted. So always prioritize satisfaction. If you are always eating stuff and you're like, that wasn't really what I wanted, you will eat more stuff. Like that's just how it is. So just accept that sometimes it's fine to eat a dairy milk. Anytime is fine to eat a dairy milk. Who am I kidding? The last tip is mindset, right? Mindset is so important. And it comes back to what I was saying yesterday about curiosity. If you are always thinking about, have I lost weight yet? Is what I'm doing right? And attaching a lot of emotion to the outcome, which you can't really control, that is not going to help you. So, having a real growth mindset about things and understanding that things take time, that this is a learning process, be excited, right? You're probably going to learn a hell of a lot about yourself during this time and prepared to do the hard work. I know you don't want to hear this shit. I'm really sorry. But things like examining your core beliefs about yourself and about food, examining what is your relationship with food like? Where did that come from? Do you have these really unhelpful beliefs that, I'm not a nice person unless I'm thin, for example? If you were in a household where thin was like the best thing and people who weren't thin were talked about in a derogatory way, maybe you've got that belief that's not helping you. Maybe you believe that you shouldn't leave food on your plate. That's something that I know a lot of us growing up in the 70s probably felt. Having a look at, why do you have the relationship with food that you have? Why do you have a lot of these core beliefs? And if that sounds like hard work, that's because it fucking is, right? Do you want a lifelong solution to the way that you're feeling now? Or do you want to go away and find a temporary fix yet again that you're going to follow for 6 weeks? Yes, you're going to lose weight, right? But because you've done it using these ridiculous behaviors that you can't sustain, once you've done that and you can't sustain the behaviors, what do? You just go back to your old way of eating and drinking and exercising if you were. So, yes, it's hard work, but that's because it's a lifelong solution, right? A lot of people wonder why I have clients for so long. I don't do 12-week programs, I don't do 6-week shreds or transformations. All of the clients that I've got, one of my clients has been with me for 3 years. Another of my clients has been with me for 18 months, and they're all around about that sort of 9 to 18 months apart from the 3-year client. We are trying to create a new lifestyle for them, a new identity, a new way of them living their life and being healthy. It doesn't take fucking 12 weeks. I'm really sorry. If you're up for doing the hard work on yourself, you can find a permanent solution to this, and you can be in that very small minority of people who are successful with their weight loss and they stay healthy for the rest of their lives, which is what we all want. If you've got any questions about this video, just drop them in the comments and I'll come back around and answer them. Thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.